my name is Avery and I love books. And so does she. You say hello too. Hey guys, so today I'm here with my June wrap-up. I actually read a total of 9 books this month, which is really good for me. It is the largest number of books that I've read in a month this year, so that's good. Just because of school and all this stuff, I'm finally out of school, so I finally have time to read, and so I've been reading a bunch. So I just wanted to get into it, and here we go. The first book that I read this month was actually a reread for me, and that was Life and Death by Stephenie Meyer. So this is the gender-bending version of the Twilight Saga, well, the first book. I have the collector's edition, where on the front is Twilight, and when you flip it over, it's Life and Death, and in the middle it splits, so it's 2 different books. I am a big Twilight fan. I started reading this series in like elementary school. I also got the audiobook for it, which is how I reread it this month. I listened to it on Audible. The narrator is really good. I highly approve. And I just thought it was a fun read for me because I'm a big Twilight person. Like, making Bella a guy was kind of funny to read about, and so reading the book was just like a good laugh for me, and listening to it was fun. I think I just listened to it while cleaning out my room earlier this month, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I highly recommend. And the second book that I read this month was the regular version of Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. I did the exact same thing. I was listening to it while cleaning my room. Because when you get the audiobook, for Life and Death, you also get the audiobook for Twilight as well. So once Twilight ends, it just flips over to Life and Death. So I thought it was pretty cool. So that was my second book for the month. The third book that I read this month was Through to You by Lauren Barholt. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her last name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. So this book is about a girl named Harper who gets a note left on her desk one day by one of the popular guys named Penn. And it's basically a story about them hanging out and eventually getting together and all this stuff, but they have very different, I want to say, goals when it comes to relationships. She's more of a person who wants someone to be there in her life fully and like wants a boyfriend, whereas he's just looking for a fling, and he's starting to realize that maybe he shouldn't have a fling with Harper, and the story is basically about that. I think I gave this book a 2.5 or 3 stars. It was okay for me. I didn't really feel all that much from the characters. It was very cutesy, but I didn't really have like, they didn't feel like well-rounded characters to me. I love the plot and how the story came along, but I wasn't feeling about the characters, and I don't know, Penn kind of like annoyed me sometimes because it's told from dual perspectives. His point of view kind of didn't make me feel so good, I guess. I don't know, I didn't really like being told from his point of view. I kept like skimming through his parts to get to Harper's parts. I think her point of view is better, but yeah, so yeah, I give it, it's an okay for me. The next book that I read this month was 5 Ways to Fall by K.A. Tucker. So this book is about a girl named Reese who's kind of labeled as the bad girl, I want to say, ever since she was in like high school. And this story starts off with her actually getting into a divorce because she caught her husband cheating on her with his ex-girlfriend. So yeah, that's not so good. But she ends up going on vacation and meets a guy named Ben there, and we kind of have this one-night stand kind of thing. So after their one-night stand, they kind of go off into their separate ways. They come back from vacation, no contact whatsoever, and evidently they both got a job at the same law firm company, and it's about them trying not to make things awkward, and eventually getting together, I guess. So this is a new adult romance book, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. I think I finished it within 2 days, and it's maybe around 400 pages. But apparently this is a part of a series, and I didn't know about it. It's kind of like the Anne and the French Kiss series, where they're kind of linked, but you don't really need to read them in order. You don't have to. Like, it's recommended, but you don't have to, kind of thing. I didn't know that. Apparently this is the last book out of the 4 of them. I absolutely loved it. K.A. Tucker's writing style was amazing. I loved it so much. She has this whimsical feeling to her writing, and I got sucked in so much. I highly recommend it, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was actually a graphic novel, which is new for me because I've never read a graphic novel before, and that is Wires and Nerve by Marissa Meyer. I actually got this book as a graduation gift from my friend Danny, so thank you, Danny. So this is a graphic novel installment of the Lunar Chronicles. This basically takes place after the series has already occurred, and it's about Aiko here, who's the android robot of the story, and it was so cute and wonderful, and the pictures are really cute. It's about her trying to capture all the lunar escapees and trying to track them down on Earth, and I can't wait for the second book to come out. Pretty sure hopefully this year, don't remember, but I thought it was really, really cute, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, next we have Cashmere by Temple West. So this is the second book in a series, I want to say. I'm not sure if it's a trilogy or not. I don't know how many books are set to be in the series. The first book is called Velvet, and I'll just tell you the premise of the first book since this is the second one. The first book is about this girl named Caitlin who gets sucked into this world of vampires. This is, I think, one of the first vampire books ever since Twilight that I fell in love with. I tried reading Vampire Academy and I wasn't that big of a fan of it or anything, so I loved it. So Caitlin has to move to another city and state because her mother has recently passed away, so she has to live with her aunt and her uncle and her cousin on this big farm. And right next to the farm's property is this big house manor where a boy from her school named Adrian lives. And Adrian is known to be the outcast of the school. No one ever talks to him. If he comes up to you and talks to you, it's like a miracle. Everyone's starstruck. And so one day, he starts to take an interest in Caitlin on her first week of school. And she learns his secret that he's a vampire. Basically, it's about him trying to protect her. So, I loved Cashmere. It's the second installment, and it left me on a cliffhanger that I cannot stand. I can't stand it. I need the next book now. I hate when books do that to me. I loved it, so I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book that I read is Radiance by Grace Draven. So this is the first book in her Wraith Kings series, and I believe it's a 6-book series coming out, and 2 books are already out. I actually read this book, Radiance, to get in preparation for Eidolon by Grace Draven. So I read both of these books this month. I'll tell you the premise of this one, just because Eidolon is the second book in the series, and I wouldn't want any spoilers. This book is a story about a girl named Ildiko and a Kai named Brishan, and they're from 2 different species of man. He is what they call a Kai, she's a human woman. Ildiko is the niece of a king, and Brishan is a lowly son of the king of the Kai. So they are put into an arranged marriage to barter a trade agreement between their 2 countries. Basically, it's about them getting married and evidently becoming friends, then becoming more than friends, and it's just it's beautiful. I read it last year. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. The artwork on this book is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. I also listened to this on audiobook. I actually already had this on audiobook. That's how I listened to it for the first time. I got the hard copy later just because it's one of my favorites. The audiobook is amazing also. Everyone should go check it out on Audible. And Eidolon was just an awesome second installment of the book. This is the conclusion to Ildiko and Brishan's story, and the rest of the series will be about the side characters from the first 2 books. So the point of view of Brishan and Ildiko will end at the end of this book. I loved Eidolon just as much as Radiance. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars as well, and I thought it was a great conclusion to Ildiko and Brishan's story. And the last set of books that I read this month were actually a trilogy, and that is the Winter's Trilogy by Marie Rutowski. The first book being The Winter's Curse, the second book being The Winter's Crime, and the third book being The Winter's Kiss. This series is fantasy without magic, which I thought was really cool to read about. I don't think I've ever read a book that is labeled as fantasy without any magic in it, which was, I think, a real refresher. So this series is about 2 different kinds of people, the Valorians and the Huranians, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. But it's about these 2 people basically butting heads the entire series. So the Valorians, at the beginning of this book, have basically taken over the Huron country and taken them in as slaves. The Huron people are slaves, and this series starts out with a girl named Kestrel, who is in market one day and evidently buys one of these slaves. And the story's about her and the slave getting to know each other and sparking something, I guess. The whole series is about the Valorians and the Huronians butting heads and being at war with one another. So this book series, this was something to read. I actually read all 3 books in the span of 3 days because I was so obsessed with it. I couldn't put them down. I have no words to express my feelings about this series. It did get better as the books go on. I think I gave The Winter's Curse a 4 out of 5 stars, The Winter's Crime, the second book, a 4 out of 5 stars as well, and The Winter's Kiss, the third book, a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought the series was wonderful, and overall, I loved it. So there you have it. That was my June wrap-up. I hope y'all all enjoyed, and I hope to see you next week with a new video. Bye! Sit down. Sit down. Sit. Sit. Sit.